Kilmar Garcia. You might remember the name, but if you don't, here's a quick refresher. This man is an alleged member of MS-13 and a human trafficker who is an illegal alien to the United States who the Trump administration deported back to his home country of El Salvador. But it turned out that all the paperwork wasn't exactly in order. A couple T's weren't crossed, couple I's weren't dotted. So he was brought back to the United States in a quote-unquote major victory for the left. Only it's not really a victory because Garcia has been arrested again because he's still an illegal alien, and now they're going to deport him to Uganda. So this isn't exactly a win that I would want. I've got a vocabulary word for Kilmar since he doesn't speak English. Look up the phrase Pyrrhic victory. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Well, hello everyone. Welcome. We have a number of topics today. I actually have four, although two big ones, two we're not really going to talk about, just going to briefly touch. So I'm going to try and move it a little quickly today as we get through the first two. I know I always say that, and then I always wind up talking for 25 minutes about the first thing. So I am going to try and just move on a little quicker than normal. We're going to talk about the Kilmar Garcia thing that's going on, the Trump executive order on flag burning, and then two cultural topics. We're going to talk about Snoop Dogg and the socialist mayoral candidate from New York City, Mom Donnie. But first, before we get into that, my favorite comment from last week comes from Loretta Legg, who said, quote, "Yeah, Coke thought something similar back in the 90s. Big mistake," end quote. Yes, Loretta, you are exactly right. She's referring, of course, to the Cracker Barrel rebrand, and what a terrible, terrible response they had this week. I was going to do an entire thing this week on just a follow-up to the Cracker Barrel story because they did such a bad job PR-wise in their response to the controversy. Basically, in effect, I'm going to boycott Cracker Barrel. I don't go to Cracker Barrel all the time. It's like a once or twice a year kind of deal, but I'm going to refrain from even that once or twice a year until two things happen so that we know we have a full victory. The CEO needs to be fired, and they're going to put the logo back on the thing. They're going to say, hey, we're going to get rid of this logo, never talk about it again. It's going to the basement where we're going to chain and lock it up, and it'll never see the light of day again. And until those two things happen, I'm not eating at Cracker Barrel because I'm sick of this nonsense. And really, when you dig into it, they went basically DEI in every aspect of the company. So it's good that they're learning a lesson. Okay. By the way, just real quick, that video last week, the video about Cracker Barrel was the most viewed video we've ever had on the podcast when you look at all of the platforms combined. So when you're talking about Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, when you combine all of it together, it was the biggest video we've ever had. People were just upset about Cracker Barrel. I don't know. I thought it was just me, but apparently not. Apparently the world mourns for Uncle Herschel, as do I. So thank you, everyone, for watching. We hit pretty decent numbers last week. I was pretty happy with that. But it was a weird topic. Cracker Barrel is the thing that I talk about a lot of things all the time, and Cracker Barrel is the thing that pushes us over, hits some milestones. It's funny. Anyway, all right. Topic one, Kilmar, we hardly knew you. Okay, this is ridiculous. This whole controversy about Kilmar Garcia is ridiculous. Because far be it from me to give advice to people on the left, but the biggest piece of advice that I can give to people on the left is stop making terrible people the poster children of your cause. It's a bad look, and it's a bad thing to do. This guy is a terrible dude. He's a bad guy. And they've just decided that it's the most important thing in the world that he gets to stay in the U.S. This guy is an alleged human trafficker. He has two separate judges have found that he has connections to MS-13. He was found smuggling people across state lines, transporting a bunch of young ladies across state lines. This guy's a bad dude. He beat his wife. He's got an order of protection against him. He's a bad guy. And they can't help themselves. They just are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that this guy gets to stay in the United States. And he's not going to. There's no way he stays in the United States because he's an illegal alien. There's just no way around it. And they've just decided that this is the worst thing to ever happen to a human being in the history of the world. So let's give a little summary here. It was not a mistake that he was deported. They keep acting as though it's a mistake. He was wrongfully deported. It was wrong. He did this. He did that. No, he had a lawful deportation order against him. He had a separate hold that said we shouldn't send him to El Salvador until we can verify the claims that he's made about possible persecution and threats to his life. So these two things existed together. He had a lawful deportation order and also something that said we maybe shouldn't send him back to El Salvador. He was sent to El Salvador, which is his home country, and they said, oh, you're not allowed to do this. There was a lawful order that said you're not allowed to send him to El Salvador. Turns out, hey, that's fine. So they said, bring him back. Okay, well, we brought him back. And now he's going to get deported somewhere else. He's going to go to Costa Rica or Uganda. He's not going to stay in the United States. He has a lawful deportation order. We don't want him in the United States. He's not the kind of guy. When I've talked about immigration a lot on this thing, he's not the guy that I talk about where I have sympathy for people who want to come here, who want to work, who want to send money back or bring family across or looking for opportunities. That, I'm talking about those guys that hang out at Home Depot or the women who are working in the motels or nannies. Like I'm talking about those people, hardworking people. I have a lot of sympathy for these people who want to come here and work. I get it. I understand. There's opportunities here to make money you can't in your home country. I understand that. That's not this guy. That's not who we're talking about. Because the second that you start breaking laws, the second that you have gang ties, the second that you're accused of human trafficking, guess what? I've known a lot of people in my life. It's kind of a difficult crime to get falsely accused of. Human trafficking is kind of one of those things that, it's not casual. It's not like a speeding ticket. Oh my gosh, this guy got a speeding ticket. Isn't that terrible? No. Human trafficking is a hard crime to accidentally find your way into. Oh my gosh. Next thing I knew, I was human trafficking. No, he's a bad dude. Not the guy we're talking about. This is not a sympathetic character. And the left, you're talking sitting senators, what's that guy's name? Chris, whatever his name is, who went down there and held hands with him and cried, oh my God, this guy, he can't believe they sent this man to a prison. And unbelievable. So he's going somewhere else. He was in El Salvador for basically 4 or 5 months. He was in there for about 160 days. How many months is that? 5 months? So he was there for about 5 months, and he came back. He's immediately arrested, as he should be, and he's going to be deported. Now, he has a stay until his case is adjudicated, but he's going to be deported. And I have what is one of, I'm going to pull this up here, because this is one of the funniest own goals I've ever seen ever. So when they said, hey, you're going to possibly go to Uganda or Costa Rica, the lawyer for Kilmar Garcia, this is him. I want you to just listen to what he has to say about this.
It is preposterous that they would send him to Africa, to a country where he doesn't even speak the language, a country with documented human rights violations.
Okay, so did you catch that? He said, it is unconscionable that they would send him to Africa, a country, by the way, Uganda, where he doesn't even speak the language. He doesn't speak English. Garcia, I didn't know this, by the way. I didn't understand this. He's been in the country for 14 years. He doesn't speak English. He gave an entire rally where he spoke in Spanish to these group of people who came out to support him. And then he had to have an English translator translate his words from Spanish to English for the crowd because he doesn't speak English. Unbelievable, by the way, that you would be here for 14 years and not speak English. I'm going to be honest. I couldn't imagine living in a country and not speaking the language after 14 years. Just put a little effort in, just a tiny bit. I mean, come on. And so what in a fantastic, and I get, before people will say it, let me get ahead of it. I understand. I know people will say, Tyler, English isn't the official language of the United States. You don't need to speak English to be an American. Let me stop you there. Yes, you do. And yes, it is. And yes, you do. You're right. It's not the official language of the United States. It is the official language of some states, and I think that it should be the official language of the United States. All of our governing is done in English. All of our founding documents are written in English. All of our founding fathers spoke English. All of our presidents speak English. It's true. Maybe some of them know some other languages. I don't actually know that off the top of my head. English is the language of the United States. It should be the official language, by the way. We should just do that. It's great. Other people want to speak other languages. 350 million people in the United States speak English. Basically everyone who lives in the United States speak English. We have an immigrant population, but almost everybody in the United States speaks English. English is the language of the country. Don't make a mistake about it. And it should be. And this guy can't speak it after 14 years. What does that tell you? He's not interested in integrating into the United States. He clearly hasn't even tried. So it's just hilarious, by the way, because that would be my argument. We shouldn't take people in the United States who don't speak English. We shouldn't make them citizens. That's a ridiculous proposition to me, that you're going to, be able to vote and you can't understand the issues or the people or the topics at hand because you can't listen to the politicians speak. Politicians in America debate in English. They don't debate in Spanish. They're not debating in Mandarin. They're not speaking other languages. They speak English. And you should have to speak English to be a United States citizen. So this guy is ridiculous. The fact that his own lawyer says, how dare they threaten to send him. It would be a human rights violation if we sent him to a country where he didn't speak the language. My dude, he came here, okay? He came to America. He doesn't speak the language. He's been here for 14 years. I agree with you, actually. Send him back to the place whose language he speaks. I don't care where it is, as long as it's not here. We don't need him. And let me, again, piece of advice, stop trying to make this guy a thing. Fetch is not going to happen, Democrats, okay? Quit making Kilmar seem like a sympathetic guy. He's not a sympathetic guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. You should know better. Stop. Chris Martin? What? No. I'm confusing Chris Martin now. Was the singer of Coldplay with what was the name of the senator who went and held hands with him? I can't remember where. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Stop making it a thing. It's just hilarious to me. And I don't know what you're thinking, to think that this is the guy that everyone's going to look at him with his knuckle tattoo MS-13 and go, oh, this guy, I get it now. I see the cause from the illegal immigrants' point of view. And I think I would be softer now on immigration because you've shown me the human trafficking MS-13 member and how hard his life is, his story is. No, I'm sorry. Stop doing it. It's dumb. Anyway, ta-ta, and we can't wait for him to leave the country and never come back. So goodbye, Kilmar Garcia. Hopefully we don't have to talk about you anytime soon. Okay, I did a pretty good job. That was only 11 minutes? 11 minutes. That's not bad. Topic 2, flag burning. Now, this is actually the topic that I am most interested in this week because Donald Trump signed an executive order that would basically make it a federal crime to burn the American flag. And this is an interesting topic because it sparks an interesting debate. And I think that there is actually good-natured argument on both sides. I could argue both sides of this issue, and I think I could do so in a respectful way. I think that this is an issue. This is one of those rare issues where both sides of this issue, I can see viewpoints that completely make sense. This is one that's hard for me because I'm not 100% sure I agree with either side entirely. So let's go into a little bit of history here. Flag burning in the United States up until 1989 was actually illegal. There were 48 of 50 states in the United States had laws that expressly made it a criminal act to burn the American flag. That changed in 1989. And it's interesting. So I pulled this little quote from the executive order that Donald Trump's lawyers, Donald Trump didn't write this, but the lawyers wrote it. And it said this is from the executive order. It says, quote, notwithstanding the Supreme Court's rulings on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. See Texas v. Johnson, end quote. Now, this is an interesting argument, and because everyone's going to talk about Texas versus Johnson, and we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about that in just a minute, but it is true. Free speech is an important issue, but there are limits on free speech. It's not a full reign, and I am a free speech absolutist. I think that there should be the lowest amount of standards possible for protections for free speech, meaning that the barriers for free speech need to be hurdles that you can casually step over. Not even a big step, just a casual step over. So there are laws, for example, the laws about slander, laws against libel. You're not allowed to incite people. So I can't say, hey, you should go kill that guy, or we should kill that guy. I can't threaten you. I can't say, I'm going to kill you. I can't do these things. So there are things that are not protected in free speech, but that's about it. You can't make threats. You can't incite. You can't libel. You can't slander. Off the top of my head, those are the ones that come to mind of things that you're not allowed to do that are not protected by free speech. Now, some people would argue hate speech, but that's ridiculous. Hate speech, of course, is protected speech. It's ugly. It's nasty. You shouldn't do it, but it is protected. So that's a stupid thing to say. Don't say that. It's hate speech. There's no laws against hate speech. It's silly. So, but those four, those are the big ones. Slander, libel, incitement, threats. You're not allowed to do these things. And Texas versus Johnson was a Supreme Court case that was ruled in 1989. And basically it was about whether or not burning the flag is a protected form of speech. And it's interesting because the way it was decided, it was ultimately found, I think it was 5-4, to be protected speech under the First Amendment, freedom of expression under the First Amendment. And the interesting thing about this is that Antonin Scalia, the conservative stalwart, one of the most originalist, constitutionalist people to ever sit on the bench, he was actually the deciding vote where it was the liberals on one side, the conservatives on the other, and he was the conservative who switched sides and was on the side with the liberals and said that, yes, burning the flag is protected speech, which is very interesting because obviously he's one of the more conservative people to ever sit on the bench, so it's kind of an interesting thing to think of. He was the deciding vote there. Now, on the opposite side of him in the dissenting arguments was William Rehnquist, who, again, another conservative legend, and who wrote this, actually, William Rehnquist. I pulled this book out for you. So William Rehnquist wrote this, The Supreme Court. It's basically a little history of some of the unique things about the Supreme Court and some of the cases that they've decided. It's kind of a cool book. William Rehnquist, by the way. He's a smart guy, very good writer. So he was one of the dissenters on the Texas versus Johnson. And he wrote this in the dissent. He said, quote, "The American flag, then, throughout more than 200 years of our history, has come to be the visible symbol embodying our nation. It does not represent the views of any particular political party, and it does not represent any particular political philosophy. The flag is simply not another idea or point of view competing for recognition in the marketplace of ideas. Millions and millions of Americans regard it with an almost mystical reverence regardless of what sort of social, political, or philosophical beliefs they may have. I cannot agree that the First Amendment invalidates the acts of Congress and the laws of 48 of the 50 states which make criminal the public burning of flags." End quote. So that one argument is that on the dissent side, the side that says that Donald Trump is right, that burning the flag should be illegal, is the side that says the flag is actually the symbol of the country. In the same way that you can't use democracy against itself to invalidate the rights given to other people, meaning that the Constitution is supposed to protect rights. You can't use democracy to vote rights away. It doesn't work that way. And you can't. So the flag is this kind of symbol of this. You're not allowed to burn the symbol of the country because you can't use the rights of the country against itself, is basically what I'm trying to say. So by burning the flag, you are using the rights granted to you in the Constitution against itself, which is not actually what the Constitution is supposed to protect. That's kind of the argument against it. The flag is a symbol of the United States. You're not allowed to commit violence against the United States. So there's a lot of arguments. There's some truth to this. The American flag is supposed to represent America. It's not a Republican symbol. I know the Democrats seem to hate the flag recently. I don't understand it. But it is a symbol of America. It's a symbol of this idea. It's a symbol of the people. And the argument against it is that you're not allowed to destroy the symbolic representation of America because violence against the state is not appropriate. It's an argument I have some sympathy for. I do. I understand it because it's that same idea. Like, you can't use democracy against itself. You can't use the values that are granted to you by America to destroy America. And that would be a good way to put it. Using the freedoms granted to you against the republic itself to destroy the republic that grants you the freedoms. It's like a paradox. You can't do this. I understand the argument. I'm not 100% convinced that the flag should be treated with that much reverence. Now, I should have grabbed this too. On the shelf behind me, I have a book, the American Handbook for Etiquette for Flags. It's not long. It's like 10 pages. It's a little pamphlet. And I try and do those things. I do. When the Star Spangled Banner plays, for example, I stand up, put my hand on my heart, take the cap off, these kind of things. I don't let the flag touch the ground. It faces the correct way when I hang it. All these things. I do these things because I do view the flag as a symbol that's important. The question is whether the fact that I view the flag that way means that everyone has to. And I don't think that they do. I think they should. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm saying they don't have to. And I can't tell people what to do, and I can't tell them what political expression they're allowed in that regard. But if you're going to make the argument, I say I have sympathy for that argument that Rehnquist made and all the dissenters on the court made in Texas versus Johnson. But I kind of like this video by Antonin Scalia. And you can tell me what you think if you disagree. But here, take a listen to this. Tell me what you think.
If I were king, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag.
Antonin Scalia.
However,
talking.
We have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged, and it is addressed in particular to speech critical of the government. I mean, that was the main kind of speech that tyrants would seek to suppress. Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea. I hate the government is unjust, whatever.
If you're not sure, then in the end, and no one knows the Constitution better than you do, doesn't it come down to your personal interpretation of the Constitution? If it isn't clear-cut, which it clearly isn't, you in the end have to make an opinion, don't you?
Well, don't forget this person has to be convicted by a jury of 12 people who unanimously have to find that he was inciting to riot. So, it's not all up to me. It would be up to me to say that there was not enough evidence for the jury to find that, perhaps. But ultimately, the right of jury trial is the protection.
Okay, so that was Antonin Scalia in 2012 talking about this issue. And this is always where I've come down on this argument. I don't think burning the flag is an appropriate thing to do. I would not be happy if somebody was burning the American flag. I don't think it's a good thing to do. But is it a valid form of political expression? I wouldn't say yes. Again, I know that's not going to make some people happy. Some people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. But yes, I think it is the kind of thing that is protected on freedom of expression. Because as he was saying, we say freedom of speech. But freedom of speech doesn't just mean speaking. It can be written words. And we'll use this as an example. They always talk about, for example, the Second Amendment. It covers the principle of something. And the principle of free speech, for example. It was never written to include things like computers or social media. But it obviously does include those things because the principle is freedom of speech, which means the ability to speak your mind and say things and dissent and do all these things. And so it protects computers. It protects you and your emails. It protects whatever, having a bullhorn and yelling real loud. It protects these things, and that didn't exist when it was written. So freedom of expression is kind of this, it's kind of a hard term to pin down. Does burning a flag have a political expression? Does it say something? Yes, it does. which is also, by the way, the other argument that you could make for a restriction on things like pornography, things like that, where you could make an argument is that it doesn't have anything of merit or expression or artistic value to say. Burning a flag clearly does. It's not done pornographically. Sometimes maybe, but it's not done just to provoke. Sometimes it's done as a symbol. So is it a good thing for Donald Trump to criminalize it? We'll see. We'll see how the court sides. He did a smart thing, though. I don't know if you noticed this. When I read that excerpt from the executive order, he says it doesn't protect incitement or fighting words, meaning that if I burn a political, or if I burn the flag as a political message, that it might be protected. But if I burn the flag to incite people to do violence, or I burn the flag in front of you to provoke you to violence, maybe it doesn't cover that. It's an interesting argument. I'm not sure how it will play out, but we'll see. Because, like I said, it's interesting. I don't know if it's going to be struck down or if it's going to find to be within the bounds of his power or constitutionally. But it's an interesting argument, at least, because he's right. The Constitution doesn't protect fighting words. It doesn't protect incitement. Regardless of what Texas v. Johnson says, it doesn't protect those things. It'd be like saying that Texas v. Johnson said slander's fine or libel's okay. It's actually not. It's not protected speech. So it's kind of interesting, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not 100% sure that it isn't going to get struck down. But at least it's an interesting argument. It doesn't go against Texas versus Johnson. It doesn't expressly take it on. It says, hey, look, we're actually citing the court case that said it was okay, and saying it actually doesn't cover these things that we're making a criminal offense, which is incitement and fighting words. So we'll see. We'll see how it happens. Okay. Now, just real quick, I wanted to talk about two things. And these are just, they're little things, but they're interesting things and kind of funny things. So one is this clip was going around on the internet for the last few days, and it is Snoop Dogg, the rapper. I like Snoop Dogg. He's a good rapper, got some good songs out there. But he's on a podcast called the It's Giving podcast. Never heard of it, don't know anything about it. But he's on this podcast. This clip went viral because of some comments he made. So we're going to watch the clip, and then we're going to talk about it. So here is Snoop Dogg talking on the It's Giving podcast.
They put it everywhere.
Yeah.
I took my grandson to see, what was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
What'd you tell him?
Watch the movie. Eat this popcorn.
You said, we don't know.
It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age. Like,
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
Yeah. And I don't even know the answer that's rehearsed. What am I supposed to say? Was the lady used to be I got questions. Now I got questions.
Me too. And I was just there to go to sleep and watch the movie. That nigga woke me up. I'm in there.
Okay. All right. So this was going around on the internet because it's basically a lot of people on the internet are saying that Snoop Dogg's homophobic. This is seriously, Google it right now and you'll see articles talking about Snoop Dogg being a homophobe, blah, 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 blah. No, he's not. That's not it. He didn't say anything against gay people or lesbians. He said nothing about that. He said, hey, I'm here to watch a kid's movie, and you're throwing stuff in this kid's movie that's making me have to have a conversation with my grandson that I don't want to have. Why are you doing this? That's what he's saying. That is a common sense approach and a very, very common sense thing. He said nothing that I see in this clip that is disrespectful to anyone. If you feel disrespected by this, if you are hurt by this comment, you are being sensitive unnecessarily. It is completely, totally fine to say, hey, maybe we don't have to put a bunch of gay stuff in kids' movies because they don't need to see it. It's not, nothing about anything, nothing about this is anti-gay. It's just saying, hey, maybe we don't have to show that to kids. Kids are impressionable, and kids are going to ask questions, and we don't necessarily want to have a conversation with a 5-year-old about how 2 lesbians have a baby. Well, you see, first they find someone who's willing to do something embarrassing into a cup, and then they take a turkey baster and do it. Or they went to the sperm store and they bought some sperm, young child. This is how the lesbians have a baby. No, we don't need to have that conversation. Listen, live your life, be free. Do what you're going to do. But you're saying that it's a good thing that we're going to have this conversation with the 5-year-old. No, it isn't. Why is it necessary? And how does it make somebody homophobic to say, keep that shit out of kids' movies? It's not, you don't need to have that question. If somebody asks a question, Mommy, where do babies come from? You can have that conversation with somebody. But if somebody says, you've had that, clearly that kid, Snoop's grandson, has had that conversation. Where do babies come from? Well, when Mommy and Daddy love each other, and they've had that conversation. Because he goes, hey, Papa Snoop, that's 2 women. How do they have a baby? And then now we're going to have that conversation? No. See, that's a different conversation. And it's not one that you need to have with a child. I'm sorry, you just don't. That's why it's funny that people talk about banning books in school and all this stuff. It's like, you don't need to put gay books in school. It's just pornographic gay books. You can have a book about Billy's 2 dads, maybe. Okay, maybe have one in the library, I guess, if you really want. But some of these books where it's just like, here's how you have oral sex with 2 men. It's like, whoa, this is kindergarten, dude. Why don't we calm down? It's, that's kind of stuff. Common sense is dying. Because if you are losing Snoop Dogg, if you're a Democrat, if you're a far left person and you're losing Snoop Dogg, you're going to alienate Snoop Dogg, say, that's regressive and we don't need you on our team, you're a homophobe, you're losing the argument. You're losing the culture war because you've gone too far. It's so clear that you've gone too far that you can't help yourself. And this is, it's fine. Keep going that way if you want. But if you're going to point to people like me and say, oh my gosh, you're just a homophobe or you're anti this, which I just find ridiculous. Because I like to say I was pro-gay marriage before the Democrats. Like, I've never had an issue with anyone. But you'll look at me because I say something like this, like, hey, we don't need to put gay stuff in kids' movies. And then it says, oh, you just don't like gay people. Oh, when have I ever said anything anti-gay in my life? But yet if you're losing me, you're losing the culture war. If you're going to alienate me, if you're going to call people like Snoop Dogg, you're going to call people like me homophobic, then you don't know what you're talking about, and you've lost the argument because you've lost the plot. And that's kind of where we're sitting as a culture. That's fine. I mean, Republicans are just going to keep winning. Because, again, a guy like me is going to vote conservative. A guy who voted Democrat all his life is going to switch teams because all of a sudden, hey, you're homophobic. Hey, you're racist. Hey, you're anti-trans. Hey, you hate everybody. And I look around, I say, dude, I don't hate anybody. Anybody, ever. I don't have any negative feelings about any groups of people, okay? And when you just look around and you do this stuff and your whole agenda seems to be grievance politics, it doesn't win you any favors, and it doesn't win you accolades, and it doesn't win you elections. So you're going to keep losing, and that's fine. It's fine. Now, this last little clip, I don't really have anything to say about it, but I really just want to make fun of the man. Zohran Mamdani, the future mayor of New York, was out there at some sort of campaign event, some sort of outdoor, he's from New York. It looks like Muscle Beach, but it's a bunch of weightlifters in the middle of the street. I don't know what it is exactly, but he's at some manly, masculine event where he's trying to show off his manliness. And here's how it goes. Check this video out. I'm going to mute it. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because this was loud. All right.
This is how you move up in the pole.
Yeah, their video. So he's sitting down, getting ready to bench press, and they're saying, yeah, baby. Look at that. They got
pole.
135 on the bar here. Okay, all right, let's see what he's got. So he's grabbing the bar. They're saying, all right, here we go, here we go. Nice crowd of people there. Okay, yeah, let's see him do it. So this guy, he's got a spotter. The spotter lifts the bar up. He's bench pressing. The spotter's lifting the bar. The spotter is lifting the bar. He does 2 reps of the 135. The spotter's doing like 50, 70, 90% of the work, baby. And the man can't bench 135 pounds as a 33-year-old man. It's embarrassing, and he should be embarrassed. Listen, I'm not even a guy who says that I think the bench press is mostly useless. It's a vanity exercise. You grow your chest, you look good. It doesn't have a lot of athletic applications, and it's not necessary to be a tough guy. And I think it's one of the more overrated exercises that everyone's obsessed with. I think the bench press is dumb. But to be in your 30s, like as a dude, and not be able to bench 135, come on, man. At least once without assistance, that the guy, the spotter, you can't really tell, but he is lifting that bar. And if you're not watching, just take my word for it. He's lifting that bar. Zoran Mamdani's not doing it. This is what socialism gets you, people. It gets you weak men in charge. And I'm not saying you got to be jacked. Listen, I'm 100, most of my life, I'm 5'10". I weigh somewhere between 150 and 170 most of my life. Right now I'm about 175, 178, somewhere around there. And I don't care to bench press. It's not a thing that I like to do, but I'm athletic and I'm in shape and I'm pretty strong. And, today I was at jiu-jitsu, and I don't know if you could tell. I was going to bring this up earlier. I was at jiu-jitsu this morning. I normally wear a mouth guard when I'm sparring, and I forgot it in the locker room. I said, I'll go get it, but I'll just do this first one. In the first round, someone smacked me in the bottom of the jaw. I bit the top of my tongue, so I kind of feel like I'm doing this. There are other ways to be strong. I get it, but I doubt he's doing anything. He just looks like a weak guy. He just looks like a guy who doesn't take care of himself. And when a guy doesn't take care of himself, I think he's suspect that he should be in charge of anything. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, what are you doing? And I think he's fake. I think he's phony. I don't like him. I have nothing nice to say about the dude. He's 33, never had a real job in his life. I've been working full-time since I was 20, so younger. And I've had a job since I was, I spent about 9 months actually without a job. But since I was 15, I've only had one stretch. I had that 1 9-month stretch where I didn't have a job when I was going through school and when I was finishing up my paramedic school. And that's about it. That's about it in my life. So I have 15 years of work experience. This guy's never worked a job. He's never done anything useful. Can't bench press 135 pounds. It's just embarrassing. Anyway. Oh, I really don't like him. I don't know if you can tell. He's a loser. All right. So anyway, we're going to leave it there for the week. As always, questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments below. I try to get back to everybody. And anything you want to see on the show next week, or anything you say, hey, why aren't you talking about this? Or did you hear about this? Or, hey, I don't like you, whatever it is. Just leave it in the comments, and I will catch you guys next Friday.